All right, Cook's new contract has $30 million guaranteed. He's now the running back with the third most guaranteed dollars on that contract. Cook's $12 million average annual value ties him for the sixth highest in the league at the position. With more, let's say hello to Sarah Davis.
Now, to break it all down, we welcome in our football analyst, Dave Naylor, and Overdrive's Bryan Hayes. So, guys, James Cook said he wanted to stay in Buffalo. He does. They get the deal done. No bad blood. Still plenty of time before the regular season starts. Dave, what was your initial reaction to this new 4-year deal?
Yeah, I think it's very fair for both the Bills and James Cook. I mean, he's been a very strong performer for them. He's only missed one NFL game in his career. He provides an element to the offense that they don't have in other players when he can go at that gap and go, and he's a bit of a home run hitter out of the backfield. One of the other things I think that makes sense for this, James Cook is about to turn 26 years old. He was a very limited player in college. He only had 297 touches in college. He's been on the field for the Bills roughly 50% of downs since he got to the NFL. So you start to add up all his carries and all his catches. This is like buying a car and being shocked at how low the odometer is. That's a big thing when it comes to running backs. I always wondered whether the Bills would ever sign a running back who they drafted to a second contract. And I think it took this style of player and a guy who's been healthy in the low odometer to do it.
Yeah, I think it was really important to get this done because they're in Super Bowl or bust mode this year in Buffalo, and they want everyone to help push them in that direction, and Cook is a big part of that. The lightning and thunder of the backfield is Josh Allen and James Cook, right? And you know Allen is a beast, and he can run, and he can be very difficult to get down. What Cook has proven is he is perfect as that lightning back. Got into the end zone 16 times last year. To your point, not a ton of carries, but incredibly effective. His yards per carry off the charts. He can catch a little bit as, you know, an option in the backfield. Doesn't get a ton of touches there. But like you said, a young guy, over 1,000 yards the past 2 years. And I think he works really well with Allen, with this coordinator, with this offensive line. I think it's a grand slam. I think it's a great play by Buffalo. And, again, it pays off for a guy like James Cook.
Yeah, and he just seems to get better and better year after year. So in saying all that, Dave, would you say that after Josh Allen, Cook is the most important player to the Bills?
I would not. In fact, I would have him quite a ways down, maybe 9th or 10th on the overall roster. And people may be surprised to hear that, but I think it really comes down to how replaceable you are. You look at, say, Christian Benford, their starting corner, same draft class as James Cook. They're paying him $23 million a season. You know why? Because if they lose Christian Benford, it's a lot harder to replace than it is with James Cook. And look, they have running backs on the roster who are different styles of running back, but if somehow James Cook gets hurt in week number 1, they're going to plug Ray Davis in there. They're going to make some adjustments in the way they use him and the style of offense. But the Bills could still win the Super Bowl with Ray Davis. If they lose Christian Benford in week number 1, I'm not sure they can. And that's why, as much as James Cook, does his job as well or better than a lot of players on the roster, I would not put him among the most important Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, he's not at the top of the list. You mentioned a guy like Deion Dawkins. Like, if a left tackle goes down, that's serious trouble. But I will say this. Go ask Josh Allen how important he is. He'd say he's right at the top of my list, right? He can't control the defensive side of the ball, but Allen needs an offensive line and then weapons. And they don't have all pro weapons outside of Allen, right? They have a really good offensive line. They have Josh Allen, and then they've got good to very good weapons. Cook, I think, is at the top of that list in terms of their wide receivers, in terms of their tight end options, in terms of a guy who can get to the house, who is going to cause problems for the opposition's defense and defensive coordinator. Very, very important. So, again, I could probably get to 7, 8, 9 names. Josh Allen, though, I'll bet you you'd have him a little bit higher.
I think this is all a good thing, though, right?
Yeah.
So the Bills get the deal done with Cook. Their offense is completely set for this season. You said Super Bowl or bust. They clearly have a lot of key players. We'll start with you, Bryan. What are your expectations for the Bills?
I'm saying Super Bowl. Yeah. I really believe that they are in Super Bowl or bust mode, and I think it sets up beautifully for Buffalo to go chase it. I think their priority for the regular season, health, clearly, for every team, especially high-end teams, but you can't really control that. You go out there, you kick the ball in the air, you play, you hope you get to the finish line as healthy as you possibly can. But I think in terms of a reasonable objective for Sean McDermott and company is the number 1 seed in the AFC. They've got a very soft division. I think they steamroll to the AFC East. They've won it 5 years in a row, right? They've won double-digit wins 6 years in a row. They have Josh Allen. You've got Cook here. You've got a really good offensive line. So I think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think they end up with that number 1 seed in the AFC, and if and when that happens, everyone's got to come through Buffalo. I think it's going to be very difficult for other teams to do that.
Well, the approach of Buffalo, I think, is pretty straightforward. Lots of changes on defense, particularly in the front 7, in the middle of the defense, and running it back on offense. Josh Palmer is going to give them a different element as a receiver who can separate. But this running back room, they really have complementary backs. So that's one of the issues with Cook and trying to establish his market value is the Bills run a true three-back offense. And when you look at Ty Johnson, who's their primary third down back, best in pass situations, whether it's catching the ball or staying home and pass blocking. They got Ray Davis, who kind of subs for Cook to give him that spell, keep him fresh in the game. The complementary skill sets of those players and the way they worked them together last year, they've got that room now locked up to the end of 2026. And I think that's a big part because we know the Bills' Super Bowl window, whether they win it this season or not, is still going to be open next season.
Well, it sounds like we're still working with the everybody eats mantra for the Bills. As for Cook, he had 16 rushing touchdowns last season. They were tied for tops in the league with some pretty good company, Jahmyr Gibbs and Derrick Henry. So I'm sure Bills fans and fantasy football fans very happy with this.